And as we always say at the end of our episode, let's make like Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and get out of the spotlight, which really just means we're gonna go record an interview.
It's the So Far So Good podcast with Nick and Eamon. Now here's your producer, Harrison Kern.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Harrison Kern. Welcome to the So Far So Good podcast. How are we doing today, everybody? We've got a couple special guests today with Nick and Eamon. Why don't you introduce these guys?
Yeah. So these were the couple of the guests we had on episode 3 of the show. This is Dylan Query and Jake Stieneker, the creators of the film Cold Cross. They're here joining us on the pod today.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Awesome to be here, guys. Thanks for having us.
Of course.
Thanks for coming all the way here.
Yeah, we were really excited because we talked about this a little bit in the episode, and a lot of viewers probably already know this because most of the viewers are people we know. But we got the chance to act in your guys' film, and actually when we were on set, like getting dressed back into our civilian clothes, you guys were running around and we were like, oh, by the way, we have a show. Do you guys want to be a guest on our show? We could do a podcast. And you were like, yeah, that works. I have to go. But it was really great to have that experience with you guys. And I'm happy that you're able to come on here and we can kind of talk about your experiences and our experiences and all that stuff. It'll be fun.
Well, we appreciate you having us. The important thing, especially in the state of Indiana, is supporting local content creators. We value that, and you were there for us on set, and we want to be here for you. So thanks for having us.
Oh my
Of
God,
course, man. We love
thank you.
it.
That
We
is
love
so
it.
sweet.
That's so my heart is fluttering. Oh man,
Boys
gonna
support
cry.
boys, guys.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
yeah.
Gotta look out for the boys.
Is there anything in particular we want to talk about before we get into like
should've-
Cold Cross?
You should have mapped this out.
No, I just mean
It's
like
fine.
before we get into the Cold Cross. Like Harry, do you have anything?
So,
or
I mean, we
what are you
just
thinking?
filmed a little bit for the first episode that came out on Friday last week,
right.
and so
Episode 3. Yeah.
we've been planning this character that I was going to be playing
Yes.
for a
Right.
while now, and I was like, oh, this is going to be great because I don't know these dudes, and they're just going to think I'm like this giant asshole, like that is like a big. Because I wanted to play it. I realized it probably wasn't a good idea to try to play that like the entire time I was like working on set with you guys, like as soon as you guys came in, but it ended up being like really fun to kind of go back and forth with you guys, and you guys are really good sport about me, like just like not necessarily trashing your art, but like being
Just ribbing. Playful ribbing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was fun.
I think it
I'm,
helped. Sorry, Dylan.
go ahead.
I think it helped that we had a little bit of a briefing, but ultimately we had no idea what we were walking
No
into.
idea.
when we
Yeah,
got here.
No
we
idea.
kind of told you guys, it's a kind of a comedy talk show. There's going to be a character who's a douchebag, and he's going to be with you. And that's about it.
right. I mean, I guess that's the kind of thing that we've been trying to do with the whole show. Like,
Yeah.
it has the form and the look of a talk show, albeit low budget, but we want to keep the comedy bit up, and then we can have like a legitimate interview and conversation on the podcast. So we wanted to make sure that, and I was telling you guys this, we want to make sure that even if we have a legitimate guest on the show, we want to do some sort of bit or comedy involvement in that segment, I guess. So, I mean, the idea was just like, oh, well, we have 2 people who make films. Let's just add a third, and it can be someone who's skilled in improv, like
Right.
Harrison.
Anytime I can
Baby improv.
baby improv, right? Anytime I can get behind the camera and just like say whatever I want and like
Right.
work with people, that's so much fun to me. And I didn't even look at the script until like right before we started filming it. I only knew the basic concept of everything and,
Right.
and just went from there, and that was super fun.
Well, and it was fun too because I know that like Eamon had written out a script, and I was telling him while he was writing it, I was like, hey, this is great. Also, I don't know if we'll do any of this.
Yeah,
like
I'm
I
totally-
think what you have written is great, and if we'll work some bits into it, but I felt like it was going to be a lot more of like an actual kind of interview and just trusting Harrison to just do whatever
Right.
he wanted to.
Right.
I had a lot of fun with it because none of us, all 5 of us, had no idea what was going on. It was I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
I'm still waiting on my coffee.
We got a Keurig
Yeah,
upstairs.
we'll
We can
get-
make you a coffee when we need to.
Some donut shop, Kroger brand.
Yeah, the Keurig. When we messaged you guys earlier today, Dylan made a joke about how he wanted not two packs of Skittles, just 2 Skittles. When he got here, and we were gonna do the bit, and we just forgot. So we're sorry. When we get Patreon eventually, Nick was talking about.
Right. Yeah. Well, as soon as we hit the $10 mark, we'll be able to get you a full pack of Skittles, even more than you asked for.
We gotta pay you interest,
right,
on the Skittle.
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect. Any specific color?
2
or?
Skittles today, whole pack of Skittles tomorrow.
Oh man,
Oh.
I don't know if we're gonna be able to.
I think that's breaking the budget a little
I don't
bit.
know if we're gonna be able to do the 2 today. I only had money for 3 Sody Pops.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I saw some Caesar's pizza over there. What was that about?
Hey, if you want to go get some of our scraps of our lunch, be our guest.
Yeah.
It's probably cold by
I'm-
now.
It's probably definitely cold.
I'm just saying it appears like, that ate into my Skittle budget. So I'm just
Right.
Just-
right.
Well, actually, the food came from our pockets and not the show budget.
Right,
So,
yeah.
we didn't really have to spend any.
We don't
money.
have a show budget.
Guest craft, everything is coming.
all
from
the
our
guest
budget.
craft services got to come out of the show budget, and we have no money. So
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So the pretzel pizza is back at Little
Little
Caesars.
Caesars
I don't
pretzel
know if you
pizza.
guys have had the
I don't know
pretzel
if
pizza.
you guys are into the whole the pizza game, but this is a big deal.
How deep into you got to buy low, sell high when it comes to pizza.
Exactly.
And right now, pretzel crust is back.
Kelly
We're
School of
buying.
Business.
We're buying low.
Our buddy from the last episode, Mr. Lombardi McConnor, knows a lot about pizza.
Oh god. Well, that was actually episode 1. This is episode
episode
3.
1. Shit.
We're filming these podcasts out of order. It doesn't matter.
We're filming 2 episodes in a day.
Lombardi McDonald or whatever his name was knows a lot about pizza. But I don't think he'll ever
Oh,
be back
right.
on the podcast ever again. What a shame.
Well, I think he
Oh,
might.
look, there he is.
There he
now.
is.
There he is now. Oh my god.
Wait, Lombardi, is that Oh, dude, his tongue got surgically removed. What a shame. Dude, that sucks. Man, maybe next time, Lombardi.
Man, Nick, why did you?
You know, I just- I
Nick, you
think-
just broke all the fans' hearts right now.
No,
you just,
but
you just
listen,
mutilated a fan favorite character.
I'm getting an update right now
Oh, yeah.
about Lombardi. He has had an experimental tongue
Really?
replacement surgy in the
Really?
last 30 seconds.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
wow. Here he is, everybody.
And he can
Come on.
talk.
He can talk.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, that
oh my God, hey,
I don't think the surgery was too
everybody.
successful.
I'm oh my God, it's hi, I'm Dr. Lewandowski. I'm Mr. Lombardi McConnor's physician.
Now, Mr. Lewandowski, can you please...
Dr.
Sorry.
Doctor, he has a degree.
Okay, so why did you decide, after all the atrocities that Mr. Lombardi has committed against the pizza chains, why would you decide to give him back the ability to talk?
You know,
And taste.
Exactly.
taste. Well, I feel like the only way to better yourself as a person is to give yourself room to grow. And Mr. McConnor obviously Mr. Lombardi McConnor has a lot of explaining to do for himself. Yes, I'm sorry. Has a lot of explaining to do. And a lot of
I think he would like to hear that.
Yes,
I think
and
he
a
would like
lot
to hear what he has to
exactly, and of course to bring back his sense of taste because he is a pizza man. The only way he can make his pizza better is if he knows what it tastes like, and I've tried my best to perfectly fine tune his taste buds. So I'll let him speak for himself. Now I will say this is an experimental procedure, so his tongue hasn't quite grown into the mouth yet. It will take some time, but let's hear what he has to say.
Right, so I'm really trying my best to make the best of the situation, but I do think that overall I'm going to be making the pizza a little bit better and trying to be a little bit gritty, and that's mostly what I'm going to be doing.
See, there you have it, folks. I'm really proud of the work that we did today, and I really hope that Mr. Lombardi McConnor can...
We'll come back to
Yes.
you, Mr. Lombardi.
Yes, thank you.
We'll come back to you because I have many, many, many more questions. But let's
No, gentlemen,
let's get into
let's talk about movies.
let's
Let's
talk
talk
about
about
movies.
You
movies.
should start your own podcast and talk to Lombardi McConnor over there.
Okay, well, I might.
All right. So, as you probably heard in the episode, these two gentlemen are working on a feature film. Tell us more about it. It's it was such a neat experience being on a set like that. Obviously, it's a pretty.
We actually know very little about the film as well, which is I feel like by design a little bit.
We only got our snippet of the script,
Right.
But that's
we're
all
a
right.
regular Benedict Cumberbatch on Infinity War. We only know what we're involved in.
Well, Yeah, I mean, we're trying to keep. It's really hard to strike that balance. How do you give just enough information to your audience to keep them interested, but not enough to expose the secrets of your film?
Right.
You know, that's a really fine line to walk. There's definitely a lot of things that, you know, our actors are actually under contract legally to not speak about. You know, we have gone the whole 9 yards to ensure that that our story is safe, but we're really confident. That also means that we're really confident in our story. So you guys, we probably didn't inform you about as much of the story as we should have, but I think that's okay. That'll give you guys more to look forward to.
Yeah, I
got
feel like we got
everything we
enough
needed.
information. I have we have pictures of us on set that I feel like you guys gave the go ahead to post, but we still haven't because of well, maybe save the surprise a little bit, you know.
Right,
Eventually we'll post the pictures when it gets closer, probably, and we'll help kind of promote that way. Like, hey, we're in
That's
this,
nice of you.
we're in this.
Of course.
Oh yeah, we want to.
It's all for our ego. We
Yeah, of
understand
course.
that.
Yeah. But yeah, we've kind of held off on posting those because I think it'd be more fun to kind of keep the surprise in like a teaser that you have, or like the clip that you played earlier in the episode, that kind of thing. We want you guys to have the information that you want out there. We don't want to just be posting blabbing about it.
Yeah, I think in many ways, you'll notice like on the Query Productions page where we're posting mostly about the film, it's we posted quite a bit in a short period of time, and then we've kind of gone dark.
Right.
Part of that is because we've been in production, so you know we've been kind of busy. And to be honest, since I'm doing all the production stuff, I'm the director, I'm the cinematographer, and the editor. I have plenty of stuff on my plate, and I don't always get a chance to think about the social side of things.
Right.
So, but here in the near future, we do have a lot of great updates that we will be releasing, and portions of those might include photos of you guys.
Awesome.
So feel free to share.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Also, just a little behind the scenes magic. We're recording this like end of February, and this podcast is coming out April like 15th or something like that.
Yeah.
So do you know if that stuff will have been like out already, or do you guys think it'll be around that time? Or?
We should have a trailer released before then.
Oh, awesome.
awesome.
So everybody go to the Query Productions page and try to look for the trailer. If it's not out,
There'll be a
fault, I
link in the
guess. Yeah,
description.
we'll put a
We'll
link in the
link it.
description, and yeah, everyone be on the lookout for that.
It'll be somewhere around the March 12th area.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so it'll definitely
right.
be. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
up to this point, we have filmed about a third of the film. We were planning to have more finished by now, but the issue is, I know it's a common issue. 2020. Okay,
Yeah,
right.
There are a lot of
Absolutely.
issues, a lot of setbacks, a lot of locations, communication issues, and things like that. Things that need to be pushed back. Actors who were either comfortable or uncomfortable filming. There's a lot of things that we've had to be dealing with in behind the scenes, so to speak. But honestly, for just filming this entire film takes place in the late fall winter time period.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
we're kind of nearing the end of our season, which means that we will be postponing production until next winter.
Man, I hadn't even thought of that. That's right.
Well, we
Yeah.
do have some scenes that take place in the summertime.
We
Right,
have
some-
a couple of scenes here and there, and we have some indoor scenes that we can make
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
But a lot of this film takes place outside. So we the
Naturally,
classic thing with westerns is like kind of hot, sweaty, kind of in the
Yes.
desert.
Yeah,
Our
I-
frontier style film, we wanted to deal with the cold. So it kind of
Hence
in
the
the
name.
name
Yeah.
too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like I think it just made sense to kind of film this whenever the weather is just a little colder. But
Yeah.
because of that does restrict us to the season.
I that's one thing I noticed about when we were filming. I'm like, most westerns, they're set out, in New Mexico or someplace or in the middle of the desert. But you're shooting this movie down in rural Kentucky, and you shot it, out in the hills, and it's freezing. We're freezing out there. But it
Right.
was fun.
That is something I noticed as well. It is
And
cold.
I'm like, man, this, at least visually, it's pretty distinct from any other western I've seen. I've never seen one quite like that.
I guess you could consider it less of your traditional western and more of like a frontier style.
Yeah, yeah.
right.
Old frontier.
I'd say it's almost like a Western genre, not
Yes.
necessarily like a location. I
Yeah.
guess because I
Exactly.
think a lot of
like
people think
Mandalorian.
yeah, well, I mean that is a good like a valid comparison, I guess,
Yeah.
because a lot of people consider westerns like desert, you know, all that stuff. Which that's
Right.
not. It's just a genre of film. It's more of the way the story is told as opposed to where it takes place.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. The Mandalorian is a space western, you know,
Yes.
just like the original Star Wars trilogy was. It's a space western. That doesn't mean that it takes place in the West. It just it's the genre, it's the style of storytelling.
Yeah, kind of like that lone kind of hero in like a kind of a very uncertain, untraversed world.
Yeah.
Right, and the
yeah.
types of characters that are in it, and
Right.
yeah, all of
The
that.
only requirement is you have to have one person that has a drop leg holster, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
That's the only requirement. You got your Han Solo, you got your Mandalorian. You know,
Yeah.
that's pretty much the only requirement I like to say.
Right, yeah.
You got to have somebody firing from the hip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to know a little bit more about like how you guys met and like what made you decide to like start making these like feature length films and these crazy like you're just going really hard, you know, like with these productions and things like that. Like what brought you guys together, I guess.
Jacob, how about you tell him how we met?
So actually, me and Dylan went to high school together.
Okay, cool.
And we actually met on the robotics team, I believe, right?
Mhm. Yep, that's right.
So
Nerds.
yeah.
These guys over here.
Oh,
we were the people, all right, after, you know, everyone, they couldn't wait for 3:15 or whenever you got out of school, okay?
Right.
You couldn't wait for that time to leave. We were the people that were staying behind in the engineering room, downing Red Bulls and working on a freaking robot, okay?
Working on a robot and a ping pong table / workbench.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a workbench during the day, but ping pong table when the teachers aren't looking.
It's
Of
correct,
course.
yeah.
Wow.
And it disassembles very quickly.
Very quickly.
So we always
have those skills that you guys have acquired like transferred into your filmmaking process?
Problem solving. Yes.
Really? Okay.
absolutely.
I
Right.
can imagine.
Do you have an example of that? Like something that might have happened on set or something like that?
Well, do you mean a robotics example or something on set?
Just like
Just
a
the
problem
problem,
solving
yeah.
example, you know?
So
Because I feel like that's a very big component, you know, when you're working, especially with a big crew and team, like you have to be able to figure out like how to fix something if it goes wrong, you know, not just mechanically, but just organizational.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
yeah, that's probably my number one strength. I like to tell people is my ability to problem solve, the restoration factor of things. So, but yeah, filmmaking is all about restoration. It's all about problem solving. It's all right. The lighting isn't good here. How do we fix that? Okay, the audio levels aren't good. How do we fix that? Okay, this is out of frame. How do we fix that? It's just one problem after another. And for some people, that can be a little daunting. But for us, I can't think of one major problem offhand, but I can name a ton of small problems. And I think
Yes,
that's
yeah.
what defines
Right.
filmmaking is figuring out all of those tiny details.
Right,
Yeah,
and not
yeah.
letting it get in the way of the production. Because I know some people, like people that I've experienced in college, they would just get so hung up on their idea and what they wanted that they wouldn't be flexible if something went wrong.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
think that's a crux for a lot of like student films and recent graduate films, that people are so unflexible about their idea. Because I mean, you're obviously not going to give up what you want for the film, but sometimes you have to make changes on the fly, and you have to make rapid decisions and solve quick problems, and it might not end up exactly how you wanted, but it'll be still something that fits your vision.
Yeah.
And some people let that get in the way of it and get stressed out and end up sometimes not even completing the film because people
Yeah.
focus too much
Exactly.
on what exactly they want.
I do have an example. One of our scenes that you probably saw in the teaser, we have a funeral scene that takes place in the rain.
Yes, I've seen that.
And that scene was very difficult to actually accomplish. We kind of filmed it in a time period where it wasn't quite cold yet, but the leaves were down so that it gave that cool feel. But it's supposed to be in the rain. How do you do that? Well, obviously you can do it one way, which is just wait for it to rain. But we had so many actors and actresses on set. It's kind of hard to get everyone together on a day that's raining and you can't really
Yes, yeah.
control the
You
rain.
guys have a rain machine?
We built a rain rig. Yes.
Oh, nice.
So throughout that entire scene, it is utilizing a rain rig that I purchased PVC pipe.
And 4 slip and slides, and you just took the endings and just made them splash on it.
That's it sounds like you've been watching a DIY YouTube video that has
to Backyard
$5 in the
FX.
description.
Yeah.
So no, our rig was a little bit more expensive than like a slip and slide. It was using PVC, and that was actually quite a bit of fun because I don't know a whole lot about plumbing, but I learned a lot about plumbing that day.
Right.
Yeah, and you have to buy the right pipe because if it's too thin, it'll be really flimsy, and you also have to take into account the water pressure. You don't want your rain rig exploding. Also, another thing to keep in mind when you're building a rain rig is making sure there's plenty of shutoff valves. Our system had it was basically a really long piece of PVC pipe split into 3 or 4 sections, and each of the sections screwed together. So there was a good connection.
Okay.
And then, but each of the sections where they screw together, it was a T-joint. And in the T-joint, that's where we would have a sprinkler.
Oh.
And we bought different types of sprinklers to give us different types of raindrops.
Nice.
That's smart.
Nice.
We have misters, we had big drops, we had smaller drops.
And you can just turn it on with whatever you needed.
Yes, and each one had its own shutoff system.
Right.
And then there was like a main shutoff system for the entire rig. Well, another thing to keep in mind, all right, well, we're filming this out in the wilderness. How do we get water?
Right. Right. I was just about to say.
So we found a location that was close enough to a water spigot. One of our friends was kind enough to let us do that, and not only kind enough to let us run about 300 feet of hose out to this location, but we also dug a 6-foot grave there. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was.
I've never heard that used to describe digging a 6-foot grave before.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah, we had a coffin made and everything. It was.
That's really cool.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, and we're really proud of the way that it turned out. It was actually kind of a brighter day, but I was pleasantly surprised at how much you can darken a scene.
Right.
If you have enough light in your scene, you can kind of play with the highs, the mids, the lows, the shadows, the midtones, the highlights. You can paint your picture in post.
You gotta use
to a certain degree.
Gotta use the Michael Productions LUT pack. Dude.
Right. That includes and the Zack Snyder LUT pack, which just includes dark, rainy scenes exclusively. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I think there were a lot of problems that day that we like water getting all over your camera. You
Oh,
had to
man.
have
Oh no.
your trusty producer hold an umbrella over you for the entire day.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed, by the way. But also our preacher that we had when that rain scene was going on, he had to read scripture out of a Bible,
Right.
and the water was destroying the pages of his Bible.
Oh man.
So he basically got like the beginning of it recited, and then he just had to do everything else from memory.
Wow.
So, yeah. That guy is actually an actual preacher. He preaches at what's called a cowboy church.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What is a cowboy church?
Yeah, elaborate on
How
that.
do I join that church?
Essentially, it's a church that's held just before a rodeo takes place. He travels like
That's
almost every
fantastic.
weekend out of the year and does these cowboy churches. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
beautiful.
I
his
love that.
name's John Hemmer. He's a great guy. That's where we got our horse,
Yep.
Scooter.
That's
yeah.
Scooter the
Yeah.
horse.
Oh, nice.
That's who owns Scooter.
That's
yeah.
a big ass dog.
that was Banjo.
That was Banjo. Yeah,
That
when
was
we were on
Banjo,
set, we had
yeah.
Banjo outside.
Banjo.
And the person we were in the scene with, Blake Connor, we were in character just riffing and as we're setting up the camera and everything. And he's the sheriff of this, and he leans back in his chair and looks out the window and goes, "Now what the? That's a big ass dog out there." And we're like,
I lost it,
And we're
man.
like, "Are you implying that this character has never seen a horse before?"
That's amazing.
What is with that? And then we saw like a Wells Fargo across the street, and he's like, "You see that wooden dog with the wheels on them?" And we're like, "That's a wagon, Sheriff. Not everything's a dog."
I love that.
Oh man, yeah. So
He's a hoot.
man, Bible pages are like wafer thin anyway.
Oh yeah.
So they'd probably, as soon as a water droplet hits them, they just turn to
immediately.
dust.
The more I think it's crazy the lengths that this is a complete side tangent, but isn't it crazy the lengths that publishers go to make the Bible fit in one book? Because the Bible is like 30 books,
Right.
even more if you're Catholic,
Right.
Yeah.
And like there's 7 more to be exact.
Yeah.
And it's
Okay.
And to be honest,
I didn't even
they're
know
pretty
that.
compressed. They're
yeah,
pretty compressed
and I'm
books.
like, man, they put like 3 columns on each page, and the paper is like super thin. Like, just like split it up,
Just
make it easier.
Just let me buy a couple
can-
books. Like I'm fine.
Can I get a Bible that's printed like
Can I get
like
the
a novel?
5-volume set?
Yeah,
Right.
I want it to be. I want it to be like the print size of like the Harry Potter books. You know, like the nice like
Or like
thick
a-
scholastic
yeah,
paper.
right.
You know?
Tolkien.
Yes, yeah.
Well, because why is that? Why are they just like it's
they
in
wanted to
one
fit in one book.
one easy to read book? There's nothing
It's-
easy to read about it. It's so small.
It's not only there's 3 columns on each page, and they all have like a bunch of footnotes too.
Wait, so what is the 3 columns even? Now that I'm thinking about it, what's the point of 3 columns? Why not just have it all? Because it's the same amount of space on the page. It's actually less with the spaces in between the columns.
I guess because the Bible's breaking up in like verses. So like
It's not.
like, I
It's
don't
not
know.
like. It's not like your typical. It's like not like it's telling a story
Right. Well,
necessarily.
I guess
so
maybe the verses would be like one
It's a bit
line,
different.
and I guess it would end up taking up more space.
Yeah.
Because each verse is like smaller and they're in bigger stanzas, so maybe it would just look weird formatted if it was like a normal book. I don't know. That's weird. Never even thought of that before. What a fun little side tangent
Right.
that was, Eamon. Thank you so much for taking us down.
Thanks
that
for
road.
the
course.
Catholic lesson.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
So I got all the Catholic school knowledge.
a little bit, but not like a traditional story.
No, not like a traditional story.
Like reading the Bible isn't like reading Harry Potter.
But it is funny. I like how a lot of the Old Testament is kind of like a story, like it's history.
Yeah.
And-
Right.
Yeah.
But it's broken up into verses. It's very weird.
Right.
It's, it is like there is a very the series definitely went through many different writers. You know, it's
Oh,
like,
yeah, absolutely.
like it's it's all the word of God, but like I mean
It's a collaborative.
It's
As told by-
God had a lot of ghost writers.
You know what I
all
really-
I'm saying?
Do you
'Cause,
think
and
the Bible is kind of like Guitar Hero, where it's like you click on a song and it's like story of my life as told as made famous by social distortion. So it's like as made famous by God, but it was actually performed by like Peter or something like that.
And then
know
you
what I
add
mean?
in the endless amounts of translations they have to
Right,
the Bible
exactly.
too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
you get everyone's perspective.
My favorite translation of Story of My Life is definitely the Russian version. So
Yeah, you think so? You
I
think
definitely
so?
think so.
What can you give us a couple like lines? Like what really stood out to you about that version of the song?
Well, especially the part where they go, bleh, like
Right.
at the end.
Right, I forgot about that.
I love the part in the middle of the song where you hear somebody in the back just go, "What the god?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. I don't know if that was an
Sorry.
accurate
They've also got
translation.
they add in the accordion.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
got the balalaika
Accordion
solo.
solo.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I
All the necessities.
Right.
yeah. Everyone's played that version of Guitar Hero at least once.
Everyone's got Soviet Guitar Hero, right?
Yeah.
Everyone grew up with that game. I played it all the damn time. Along with North Korea Dance Dance Revolution, like that was my shit.
Man, I wish that this was about a like Greek video game because it could be like Guitar Gyro.
Well, thanks for listening to our podcast.
Because some people pronounce it hero. Do you get the joke?
Okay.
I'm glad you moved the mic away.
Yeah. Is it so funny? Do you guys get my joke?
So
I don't get it.
on a different note here, Nick and I have been like working on a concept for a movie.
Right.
That
We actually wanted to see what you
wanted to
guys
see
thought
what you
of
guys
it.
thought of this movie.
All right,
So
let's hear it.
the working title is "Take a Bite Out of Slime," and it's kind of like a cop movie,
Like an 80s like buddy cop, action comedy is what we're going for.
right?
Give an example.
So you know like the
Like
ones-
like Tom
Beverly-
Hanks and Hooch.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Hooch,
Turner and Hooch.
Turner and Hooch,
Um,
Beverly Hills Cop.
There's always like I feel like movies have run out of wacky side characters. Like Turner and Hooch is like, oh, it's a dog, and then like Happy Time Murders, oh, it's a puppet. So I think the thing that Criminal Slimes is trying to do is it's going to be like a cop and his partner,
the bad cop.
the
if
bad
you will.
cop,
Yeah.
is just going to be a sentient puddle of slime.
Yeah. And And see, the funny thing about the slime is that like he doesn't speak English, you know. He kind of speaks in like, but like everyone understands.
Oh, yes,
he's like
yeah.
Chewbacca, you know, like everyone understands him.
Everyone
Yeah,
understands it, yeah.
yeah.
What kind of slime are you talking about here? Like Nickelodeon slime or like
Kinda like-
what
Is he
color?
gonna kind of be like Slimer? Like, is he? Does he?
No,
it's
no,
like-
it's like
he's
you guys,
just a
have you
puppet.
guys-
what
have
about
you
like
guys-
like
have you-
Clayface from
Have
DC?
you guys ever seen the Blob?
Kind of.
Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Very slow,
Like
like
the-
not efficient in any way. And I think like
Yeah.
one
But
thing
always
about
gets the job done.
yeah, and one
Yes.
thing, one concept I like about No Slime to Die is we're trying to have this like this character is going to be corrosive, right? And he will be able to like eat through walls and
Okay.
stuff,
I'm
but it
I'm
takes
liking
so
this.
long. Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
what-
it's a
do-
good idea.
Does he have clothing in like what color
So
is
that's
he?
actually where I was going. He is corrosive and he goes through objects, but he has a little detective hat
Okay.
that does not melt.
I'm
it
sold.
stays on top of the
Okay.
puddle the whole
So
time.
you know we're kind of thinking like that in CS Slime Miami. These two cops are
How
gonna go.
many names are there?
They're
Because you
working
said
titles.
like 4. Okay.
So we're thinking that like these two guys. You got the cop and you got the slime cop.
Right.
And the villain who's running this syndicate, you know, he doesn't like the Slimers. You know, he wants to get the Slimers out of the force.
Right.
The villain is a corrupt cop, right? And so he's trying to, you know, lure all the Slimers on the force into like a giant freezer. And you know, there's kind of that mystery of like, you know, who built the freezer? And then you got the Slimer, and he just starts asking like, and like, you know, it's this big ordeal.
Yeah, it's a big thing. And I think a lot of the Slime's lines will be taken through context
The
clues.
Slime's limes.
The Slime's limes, you know.
like Chewbacca, yeah.
yeah,
But,
context clues
yeah.
where you don't need subtitles to understand what they were going for. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Really? I don't follow.
You've seen Star Wars Chewbacca. You know, just think of how he and Han communicate.
No, I understand Chewbacca.
Oh, okay.
He does. He just
Oh.
doesn't understand.
Well, that's kind of what we're going for in
Slime.
Slime After Slime as well. Like we're trying to hit that mark, you know.
I don't get it.
So you speak
Okay,
Wookiee. You speak Wookiee, but not slimes.
Right, and it's understandable. I mean, Oobleck
Not everybody
is not
can.
really easy for
Yeah.
everybody to
Yeah,
fully grasp.
Oobleck's kind of a dead language. You know, it's like Latin. It's not really evolving, but we really want to try and like bring it back into the culture. You know, like maybe in a few years, like this movie will kind of kickstart its popularity, and like they'll start teaching it in like high schools. You know, as like an elective.
Now here's my idea for a character arc for the slime guy. What's his name?
Well, we don't
his-
really know because every
his-
time he,
just a slime.
every
I don't
time he
know.
says what his
His-
name is,
well,
it sounds like.
his-
Okay. all
His
right,
name in
fair.
the script right now is. So yeah.
So
Now, how do you spell that?
Well, then how did they know that Chewbacca's name was Chewbacca?
Well, because the George Lucas was not creative and he actually wrote it in English.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but we're not doing that. We want to be authentic with not knowing the language.
well, it sounds like that. This
Well, it's hard to remember somebody who if you don't know what their name is.
Right, I
Right.
agree.
Well, it's one of those things that's kind of like Cthulhu.
and it's a giant
know-
plot hole in Star Wars that I demand George Lucas fixing in his next
Oh,
director's
but
But-
did you see Solo?
cut. Yeah, I saw it.
I actually saw Solo. It was on TV last night. I was like, oh, I'll watch a little bit of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just kind of wanted to see what you guys think about Put the Slime in the Coconut and what your ideas are on that on the concept of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it has legs? I guess. Or I mean, not
You guys are
literally, but-
producers. We're gonna get some fellow filmmaker input.
right?
No.
All right. So we got one no.
I think it has legs.
Mm-hmm.
The slime guy doesn't.
No,
But,
but
like,
the-
the
Right,
projects,
yeah,
the project's
yeah.
got legs. Is what you're saying, right? Okay.
That's kind of
Yeah.
what I was getting at. You know, the longer you sit on this idea, the more corrosive it will become. So I think you should really jump on it
I
right
agree.
wow.
away.
Wow.
I
It was really
appreciate it.
insightful.
I
Wow,
really
thank you.
appreciate that. Because I feel like we're in this like precipice of this idea, and it's almost like it's in a floor above us. And if we just wait long enough, it'll slowly start to seep through onto our level, and we'll be able to kind of understand the concepts that go behind it.
If you guys can,
Is there a storm drain in here somewhere? Maybe.
There is a sump
Over the-
pump
'cause
over
it's in the
there.
corner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
right?
Gotcha. I just want to make sure.
Right.
Right.
I don't know if it'll have time to get over. It's very slow.
Well, here's hoping.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
If you guys can, you can think of an idea to really just show that this character is relatable and can connect with the audience, I think that you have something that is going to move people here.
How can you show that he has no shape and he can't speak?
Well, it's more about, it's kind of like who's another voiceless
R2D2.
R2D2, exactly.
R2D2.
Yeah, but he-
Flubber.
Flubber. Let's not
Flubber,
forget about
right.
Flubber.
We are
He
taking
touched
some
all our
inspiration.
hearts, and he couldn't speak.
I mean, Once Upon a Slime in Hollywood is
Yeah, but we know
definitely
what his
taking
name was.
definitely taking some inspiration
Well-
from Flubber.
Right.
Well, Flubber was Robin Williams' character named it,
yeah, he named him. You know, that might not have been
what it wanted to be
Flubber
called.
wanted
by,
to be
yeah.
called.
Right.
Yeah, but I remember Flubber as, hey, that's Flubber, not hey, yeah, that's that one slime thing that with the hat.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
think you
mean,
mispronounced his name.
okay, but
You did.
I think
He
I,
did.
I
He
think
did. I
when
agree.
when Man of Slime finally comes out, then like I think audiences will really like they'll get it once they see him on screen and they see him fight and crime. They'll be like, "That's my fucking guy."
I mean,
Like,
because
that's-
I'm really looking forward to
fighting
Fast Slimes
crime.
at
I thought
Ridgemont
he was the
High.
bad guy.
no,
No,
the
he's
slime is
the
the good
cop.
guy. The slime is the
He's
cop.
He's the buddy cop because he has his friend.
He's the
there.
bad cop, but he's the good guy.
He's not invested
We need to
in
send
the
you a
idea.
script of Fast Slimes at Ridgemont High, and you'll finally start to understand the kind of concept once you
Isn't
read it.
the good cop, bad cop routine kind of cliche?
Right. That's what we're going for though, because there's so many iterations of it. So why not have a sentient puddle of slime? You know what I mean?
No.
Well, in The Land Before Slime, I think that what we're going for is almost a parody of that idea. So
That's
so,
a kids movie.
With Slimes of Our Lives, I mean, it's just
yeah.
one of these. It's one of these things that I believe in you guys so much in the ideas that you
Thank
that
you,
you
man.
guys have, and
Yeah.
every time you put your heads together, like, there's no slime like tomorrow. I mean, it's just crazy.
Right.
I really hope you guys get a kick out of Cold Slime. Like it's gonna be a really.
Yeah, and
That's a little too close to home.
Yeah, I think that once Prince of Persia: The Sands of Slime comes out,
That one's outrageous.
once that movie comes out, I think you guys might get behind it.
I'm sorry, I
So
probably blew up the mic.
It's all good.
we're
You're good.
looking forward to you guys seeing it.
Right.
I think a project of this caliber could, really do well with the vision of Zack Snyder.
You think so, Zack
Yeah.
Slimer? God.
No,
That was forced, okay?
And bit adjourned.
Bit adjourned.
Bit adjourned.
Thank you for your
guys.
participation. we like to have fun here.
Have
Right.
fun here. Yeah. So yeah, that's our movie concept.
I like it. I
Thank
like
you.
It.
Yeah.
I like
Nick
it.
and I have been sitting on that bit for so long,
And we're like, one day we're gonna bring it out on the podcast, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna kill.
I'm
I
glad
did
we
like
were
it.
here for
Yeah, I'm glad
I
too.
didn't get it. Was threw me off at first.
Right.
I wasn't ready.
Well,
but
it's
then
funny
I was like,
'cause-
okay.
so
and I was
that-
thinking, I was
Like that was a legitimate idea I had though.
Yeah.
Where because I watched a trailer for a
oh, so it's
video
not
game.
real.
No, it's real. We're gonna do it eventually, maybe. There was a trailer, a video game that's called like The Adventures of Max and something. Someone listening will probably know. It's a video game that already came out, made by Telltale, and they're coming out with like a remastered version where
It was
it's
an
like
LucasArts like point and click game for a while.
yeah, it's like there's a dog detective and his little partner is like a bunny or whatever. It's this video game.
Oh,
And I saw a trailer for it, and I was like, man, they have no more ideas for buddy cop movies. And like in college, we made a thing called Double Cop, which was a cop who had a puppet partner. And then like 2 years later, Happy Time Murders came out, and I was like, are you kidding me? They stole our idea, dude. When it was just parallel thinking, because
Right.
there's only so much you can do with that genre. So I just called Eamon at work one day, and I was like, all right, hear me out.
yeah.
Buddy cop movie. One guy's normal, the other guy's a sentient puddle of slime. And then we just riffed on it. And it's such a dumb idea that I feel like eventually we have to do it, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
It's going to be so complicated.
On a serious note, not as a bit, are there any ideas that you guys are excited to make once, because one day Cold Cross is going to be finished and released. What's the next step for you guys?
Well, we have we're kind of setting up this film just to kind of talk about the ending a little bit, but not give anything away.
Right.
We are setting this film up where if we wanted to, we could do a sequel.
Nice.
But also we're kind of banking on this kind of being somewhat definitive. But
Right.
depending on the reception, I'm not gonna say no. If people
Awesome.
Right.
but other than that, I've got a couple other projects, potential film projects that we could work on, but no ideas that I want to say just.
Right,
Hey,
yeah,
I respect
exactly.
that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anyone's going to even attempt our slime movie, so that's why I felt comfortable being able to share it with you guys today. That's kind of an interesting motto that I've talked to Eamon about. We've kind of explained it. Like, I don't think saying no to sequels should be an inherent thing. Kind of like you said, like being open to something, and I almost feel like the problem that Hollywood gets into a lot of days with sequels is like, oh, people love the movie, we need to do a second one because people loved it and it'll make money. Whereas I think sequels are great when they come from the director and creator being like, oh, I have a genuine idea that might be
Yeah.
a good continuation of this.
I feel like-
and what were you gonna say?
I feel like so many movies, like especially big budget movies, they almost like rely on the fact that there's going to be a sequel.
Right.
They don't let stories be standalone as much.
They're trying to
anymore.
make money.
Exactly. They want to build a whole franchise off of it, and I think I definitely like that mentality that you guys have, because that's kind of how it's been how it was for years and years of like, let's make this movie. If people like it enough and we have another story to tell, then we can make a new one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really respect that mentality.
Well,
Right.
it's kind of funny. I don't think people think about this very often, but whenever you're creating an original idea or an original film, for that matter, you can do anything you want, right?
Yeah.
You can
Right.
you can write any story you want. You can hire anybody you want. You can do it any way you want. But once you create that, then you set your universe. You set your tone.
yes.
So the second film is just by its nature going to be more restricted.
Right.
There's not as much you can do because in the first one you're building the universe, you're building the environment, the story. So I think, yeah, I'm not going to say no to a sequel.
Right.
If the story is right, if we had, like, let's say Jacob comes to me, months after we finish it, and he says, or even years afterwards, hey, I have this idea. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, sure. Let me hear it first. You know?
Exactly.
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 Yeah, before we even received before Dylan actually showed Cold Creek publicly, which was our short film before Cold Cross.
Yeah, which everyone should go check it out. It's
Yes.
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank
it was
you.
so
guys.
fantastic.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Before we even received any feedback on that film, I had already started. He doesn't even know this, but I had already started at that point writing the sequel.
Right.
Well, I think this is a good segue into Jacob's story writing. So Jacob, Cold Creek, the short film pilot for our feature length film Cold Cross. Jacob wrote, that was the first film he had ever wrote.
Wow.
And before that, Jacob and I had worked on on a very short film called Retney. It premiered at Frog Baby Film Festival, and we won several awards. And it inspired Jacob right after that, because Jacob had never worked on a production before, ever. It inspired him to write Cold Creek. He comes to me and he says, hey, man, I got this idea. It's a Western. What do you think? And I said, hell yeah, let's do it.
Right.
So, and that's how Cold Creek was born. And then from there, we won more awards. People got really interested. People kept asking us what's next. And that's what spawned Cold Cross.
Yeah, that's
right.
fantastic.
Harry, if you're looking for it, look for the Frog Baby Film Festival live stream. It's in the middle of there. Frog Baby Film Festival 2020.
Yeah.
He's looking for the film. I guess you can find a play clip of it probably.
Yeah.
Or unless, is there a trailer online? Or
There is a trailer
for the short film?
For the short film, yes, I can send you guys a link.
And then, do you guys have any plans on or making Cold Creek available to watch, or is it already?
So Cold Creek, for a time, it was public to watch, but then I don't know if you guys are familiar with Hoosier Films. But
so, yeah.
Hoosier Films is a online streaming website that only streams films made by
nice.
Hoosiers.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we scored a deal with them, and our film is on the Hoosier Films website.
that's
so
fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah.
We should have done that with this thing.
Yeah.
Now we just put it on YouTube, but
Right.
Well, I mean, it's
there's a clip of their movie.
Yeah, this is what it looks like right here. Just
Yeah.
a little,
Well, I remember because we were watching this film festival. We actually had a couple videos that were in this film festival as well, and we were just hanging out at home. And when this came on,
I was blown away. I'm
yeah.
like this.
legitimately,
my-
it's and it's not just because you guys are here. Like we loved this film.
I was
And-
like, this is
and-
just like it was so different from everything else in the festival. Like my mom was watching the live stream too because like our movie was in it, and she's like, "Who made this cowboy movie? It's really good." And I'm like, "Wow."
right, and it's and I guess
Yeah.
it's something that like that we try to achieve, and that it seems like you guys also care a lot about. There, you don't have to be limited by the fact of like our age or the fact that we're in college to make things the way you want them to.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
a big thing with Constellation Quest that I think we've talked about on the first episode. The reason that I feel like we succeeded with this film is because we wrote exactly what we knew we were capable of, and we didn't have to settle for something that we didn't want to go with.
Yeah,
and I feel
absolutely.
like especially with Cold Creek, it was fantastic and well made and it looked great, but the story itself wasn't so extravagant that it seemed outrageous.
Yeah.
Like
No, yeah.
It
you
was-
guys needed a horse and know how to make a fire, and then like
The-
you had a film.
The biggest, in my opinion, the biggest problem where student filmmakers go wrong is they immediately start trying to write a story that's convoluted to the
Right.
point that it's like a Tarantino film.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think
Yes,
I think that's a problem. I think eventually, if that's the kind of story you want to write, yeah. But for now, you're still learning. Stick to the basics.
Right.
You
And
gotta take baby steps.
yes, I mean, I'd worked on films before, but that was something we really tried to do. We don't have to tell a story that's so different that people aren't going to get it. We want the story to
Yeah.
be simple enough, but interesting enough to keep it going.
Right. And I've been saying that for a while, and I think something with a lot of like student films or films made by people who are currently in college, like the ones that always stand out are the ones that had such a clear vision of what they wanted from the beginning, and you can tell that going into it, they knew what they wanted to do, they knew how to do it, and they did it.
And they
Like-
knew what they could do.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
if we wanted to make a legitimate sci-fi film
It would-
in
it
place
would-
of Constellation
it would
Quest,
look
it would
like
have
ass.
it would have looked terrible because we didn't have the money to do it. We didn't have the ability to make something as high tech or with all of the effects that we would have wanted. So when we were writing it, we were like, well, what if we make something that looks like it was from the 60s when we can achieve that look and we can achieve that kind of authenticity, and that's something that we've been doing with all of our stuff, and I feel like you guys have been too.
Right. Yeah.
So obviously doing a feature is like a big step up from doing short films, and there's definitely probably some healthy growth there. Like were there challenges or I mean obviously you guys did talk a little bit about the COVID challenges and things like that, but that's something that I think everybody's dealing with. Were there challenges like with making a feature that you felt like helped you grow as filmmakers?
Oh yeah, I mean, especially from a writing perspective. I mean, the difference in like the size of the script from Cold Creek to Cold Cross is, I mean, it's
Right.
Well, feature
it's
length.
a huge difference. Yeah, I mean, our script for the time I feel like we're gonna get, for the screen time I feel like we're gonna get out of it. It's actually shorter than I expected. It's 85 pages. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You start looking into the ratio between script
Right.
to
Yeah.
film length, and there are definitely standards or typical ratios. Some movies kind of blow through that ratio. Some of them, are right on the money. Our film, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I anticipate our film being somewhere around an hour and a half, hour 45. That's my guess. But then again, we're telling a story, and I don't think length should factor into that. I remember
Right.
early on when we were developing the script, I'm like, man, I think we need to add more, or here, I think we need to take some out. I'm kind of worried about the length. And I had to take a step back, and I had to say, no, it doesn't matter how long it is.
Right.
I don't care if this is a 45-minute film. I don't care if this is a 2-hour film or a 3-hour film. The important thing is telling the story that we want to tell. That's not super convoluted, all right? It's simple enough for people to understand, but interesting enough, all right? And yeah, that's basically what we ran with. So our script right now is 85 to 90 pages. I forget the exact number right now, but it's that's a relatively good length.
Yeah,
we have
it's a nice healthy, especially for a first feature.
yes. The thing
Right.
about westerns westerns typically use a lot of scenery shots.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was just about to say, like, when you have a character that is the like soft spoken, not often speaking type of like brooding character with all descriptions about the scenery, and westerns take their time with a lot of visuals that I appreciate that as part of that genre. But yeah, like, keep going about what you're going to say.
Yep, we anticipate having a lot of scenery, and some of that scenery, I'll be honest, you get out there, you're filming, you're out there in the woods, or you're out near a river, or you're out in Kentucky, at Copper
Right.
Canyon Ranch. That's where we filmed, you guys have seen.
Yeah.
You can't really plan for those scenery shots. You're there, you capture them. They may or may not make it into the film. But the ones that do make it into the film, westerns are kind of notorious for that, or famous for that, I
Yes.
guess I should
Yeah.
say. For just showcasing beautiful scenery. So our script is 85 to 90 pages, which is a little shorter than a typical feature-length film, but that's not accounting for all the scenery that we're probably going to end up shooting.
Yes. Yeah.
So what was the process of writing the feature-length script? Because I know for me personally, when I was in high school, I was like, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to be a director and I'm going to direct films. And then when we joined BSU Tonight, I was like, oh, my brain works in 5-minute segments. Like I script writing or sketch writing more so is like the sweet spot for my creative like abilities, I guess. And I can write things longer. Like when Eamon and I write these episodes, oftentimes it's different bits that we kind of have a through line that we connect in. Like we have the filmmakers bit, we have Mr. Mailbox, we have all these different things that we try to connect, and it's easier for me for my brain to grasp and like understand shorter segments. So is there a certain way, like, did you guys write this script with different bits or different ideas in mind, or did you have the
together.
whole?
So it actually, the whole script, like right whenever immediately, so it started with one scene, and this scene actually takes place like
In
in
the
the
middle.
middle of the film.
Right.
It started with that one scene. It was a saloon scene. It basically
Right.
captures
Yeah.
the entire purpose of the film, the whole story, into one scene. And I was like,
Flesh
sent
it
that
out
to
from
Dylan.
there.
I was like, hey man, what do you think? This is what I got for a sequel if we decide to do one. And he's like, damn dude. He's like, I love that.
Yeah.
It was
That's
awesome.
awesome.
And that's pretty much how it started. And then we got together and we made a timeline, kind of how like basic short little summaries of what we wanted to happen in the film in order.
Yeah.
And then based off that,
I think he sent me that scene, and we didn't know where that scene was going to go into the film.
Right.
Probably
Yeah.
months and months after that. So I think that's not uncommon. I think that there are a lot of filmmakers that, hey, I have this character. What if they did this? Or what if they
Right.
did this? And then they kind of build a story around it. That's not necessarily what happened, but like same idea.
Right.
Nick and I, like, there's been Nick and I have a similar process. It's most of the time, like, I'll be at work and I get a text from Nick that's just like, I just wrote the stupidest bit ever. Here it is. And then, and then I'm just like, let's put it in the show. And like, I
And we
think,
just kind of flesh it out.
I definitely get the feeling of like, we kind of know how we have a very similar process where we like kind of approach concepts and approach things the same way. We're like, we're able to kind of write bits for the same thing and it'll turn out kind of how we want it. I definitely get the feeling that you guys have a similar, you guys are entering this project, been doing this project with, with the same idea so that you can trust each other to make decisions on each other's behalf. Kind of
It was really special. The day that we finally sat down and we created the timeline, which is basically the length of the whole story,
Right.
Not written out, but like the ideas that we want. And every single scene, we had almost every single scene planned out in a timeline, but the scenes weren't created yet. We just knew what we wanted to show. What was interesting was before that, leading up to that day, I told Jacob, I want you to consolidate all of your ideas together, okay? And I did the same. And we came together and we wrote down all of the ideas, all the scene ideas, everything, characters, all this stuff, plot details on this page. And we basically took pieces of it and mixed it together, and by the end of the day, we had the timeline. His ideas, my ideas, they came together to create Cold Cross, but in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. I think something that's like important to keep in mind for anybody out there who might be interested in like writing, if they have an idea for a film, it is very like stressful to try to sit down and be like, okay, time to write, and you open up a blank page and you don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to do something like you guys explained, or like I think for Constellation Quest, we just had the idea of we want to parody 60s sci-fi. So we started compiling things that we wanted to specifically parody. Like in Star Trek, when everyone stares at each other and dramatic music plays, we're like, well, we'll do a bit about that. And we just kind of, after having all these ideas, we found a way to make them fit into a narrative and kind of built the story around having these like bookmarks in place of we want this to happen here, this to happen there.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for anybody who is interested in doing that to try to go about the process that way, I guess. Because I know, like, Harry, you're working on a feature with some people as well, and and it's really it's complicated.
It is,
and
you know, I think it's so interesting that we're all doing this same thing while we're like working on these kind of projects because me and my friend Andy and my friend Val, we're all
Valerie, who's actually on episode 2 of this podcast.
Episode 2. We're working on a feature that's like it's like a raunchy college comedy.
Oh hell yes!
And,
that's I can't wait to read that.
So
my God.
we've just been like writing out like every idea of like a scene of like scenes that we want to happen in the movie, kind of like Wet Hot American Summer style, like, and that's like the vibe that we want to go for.
Well, that's something that's so interesting.
There's been a movie like a good movie like that in a long time.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and something that's so interesting about that to me is some movies you can almost tell that they were written in that way, and some are more seamless. Like movies like Super Troopers or Monty Python is like very clear that they had sketches that they decided that they wanted to connect somehow. Yeah. And they're like, well, let's just make a bunch of sketches that have the same characters. Like that's how I described Super Troopers the first time you watched it.
And that's especially way easy to do in a comedy.
Right, exactly.
I think we just come from a different way of approaching things. Our brains are hardwired
for comedy.
Yeah.
It's hard, and which is one of the reasons it was fun to be in your guys' film.
Well, it was so impressive to see that, because like it's definitely way bigger of a production than anything we've ever done, and way different than anything we've ever written.
Right.
And, it was,
and in the same way, it was fun to kind of bring a little bit of that like comedy, like goofball personality to the characters.
That anybody who knows me understands that I'm a very serious person. So Jacob, we kind of work together really well because Jacob's he's a very funny guy. So I think the hardest part for script writing for me was adding in those humor moments.
Right.
That was really, really hard for me. Jacob, on the other hand, since he's playing the main character, I'm going to speak for you. I think one of the hardest thing for Jacob to do when he was writing was to create barriers for his own character.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really, that was something that was really hard. And I tried to encourage him like, hey, you're getting here too fast. What could possibly stop you? What could possibly happen that halts your progress? You know, that was something, because audience members, they don't like it, but that's the point. That's why they keep watching, because they're anticipating. They're like, oh my gosh, something's wrong.
Because you know where it's going to be.
How is he going to get
going.
past this?
You're trying to see where he's going to go with it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
If he gets to his destination too quickly, without any holdup, then it's not as enjoyable. You know, it's not as entertaining. I should say. Maybe not enjoyable.
It takes away from the journey.
Right.
Yeah. And I find that kind of dynamic interesting. Like I'm currently writing a musical with my buddy Mark J. Judge, who was in episode 1 of our show. He was one of the screaming, one of the scream yawners. He is a super serious person, and he's very funny, but he has so many incredible like dramatic ideas in his brain. He's a script writer and playwright, and when we were making this comedy musical, it's almost like there's a bunch of bits, and then all of a sudden a wall slams down, and it's like, oh, this is a legitimate character moment that no one in the audience thought was coming, and it kind of takes you out of the story in the best way possible, because all of a sudden you're so far out of it that you have to focus to like be drawn in again. It's a really interesting kind of dynamic having someone who like you guys are talking about, one person comedy comes so much easier, because Eamon and I, comedy is the thing that comes easiest to us. So when we're writing something like a comedy show, that's great. If we tried to sit down and write something that was at least half dramatic, we would struggle.
If you try to get us to write the Cold Cross too, we'd struggle.
No, we would write like the Lion King 1.5 of the Cold Cross universe, where
we'd be Rosencrantz and Guildenstern as the two sheriff deputies.
Exactly.
It
So
may be serious, but I do like Lion King 1.5.
me too.
It's so good.
But yeah, I feel like that's a really interesting kind of dealing with dynamics, and I don't like writing stuff by myself at all. I so much prefer having like making stuff with Eamon, making stuff with Mark, and you guys having each other. Like I feel like that just makes the idea come together so much nicer because there's only so much that one person can come up with, and when you have an outside perspective, it makes the story more real, more enjoyable, and more enthralling, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like it helps also. Let me just say this: you guys in real life, you guys have natural chemistry.
Oh, thank you.
Well, on screen, you had just as much chemistry, and it was really fun to watch you.
Thank you. We had so much fun.
It was great.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming on.
Yeah.
And doing this podcast
Harrison
with
was giving us the wrap
we
up.
need to wrap up us.
no,
But let's where can we view your guys' work and like your social medias and things like that? Where can we look you guys up?
I can send you a few links, but all of the Cold Cross updates are going to be coming through my personal production page. It's called Query Productions. It's just my last name and Productions. So that should be pretty easy to find. I'm actually an outlier. I don't really use YouTube, but I do use Vimeo because I'm pretentious.
Just upscale it to 4K.
Yeah.
Right.
I like the way it looks.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, they don't compress the video as much as YouTube, so I respect that.
But yeah, we'll include links to everything in the description. We'll put some stuff up on the screen, maybe of like how to spell Query Productions, all that stuff. But yeah, thank you guys so much. It was
Jake,
really
it was
great talking
Such
to
a
you.
pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
This has been really fun.
Well, I'm Harrison Kern. This is a So Far So Good podcast, and you know what they say. See ya.
See ya.